Welcome back to another episode of Premier League Khanage, people. I believe this is episode 7, Bilal. I don't think you put it in the title, but we move. I'm sure it's episode 7. If it's not, I just lied. Who cares? What are you gonna do about it? We move on, still the same. Welcome back, people. We have got previews to do. We have got some huge games. Another Premier League weekend that suggests it could be pivotal at a race at the top for the Champions League spots and relegation as well. To join me and chat about all things, mainly Liverpool, Newcastle, and Aston Villa. Arsenal is Cav, of course. Cav, how you doing? I know you haven't been around on my channel a little bit. People have been asking about you, so how are you? Well, there you go. Here we go. Look at that. Cav's back, people.
Appreciate you guys, man. No, I've been a little bit unwell. A lot of stuff going on. So unfortunately, I've not been able to make the shows, which I've been devastated about. But I'm back. And I'm back after Liverpool have won the game. So positive vibes are back as well, hopefully.
Some people would say that, you was the curse. So maybe people are a bit worried because we won a game of football while you was away. So I don't know. You're on dangerous ground. You're on dangerous ground, son. Of course, we've got Bilal in the building. Bilal, who's been on a high all season. That smile, that grin hasn't left his face. It left. What night was it? What day did we do the show? But it left
Wednesday.
For a little Wednesday.
Yeah, it was gone a bit.
There was a bit of a frown, but the smile, the grin's back. Everything's good and rosy again. Or is it? We'll get into it. How are you doing, Bilal?
Yeah, man, I'm doing all right. Another week is gone. Looking forward to the football. And yeah, to be honest, right, the football's not even stopping. It's just getting crazy. Last night with the Barca Man United game, Monaco Leverkusen, I was watching towards the end as well. Football don't stop, but now serious business begins. And yeah, the Premier League.
Shah's right. Don't smash the likes. Just stroke the likes. Don't break your keyboards. I need to stop saying that. I need to stop smash the likes because people are saying, "Yo, I don't want to break my phone and my keyboard." But yeah, Captain Sal says hopefully we can sneak a 1-0 win and we'll be happy. Captain Sal is a Liverpool fan, so he's talking from a Liverpool point of view. But of course, we need an opposition points of view. We have a couple of guys making their debuts. Welcome, Pete, first and foremost from LoadedMagNUFC. How are you doing, pal?
All good. Thank you for having me on your channel. Looking forward to talking all things Newcastle, Liverpool. Should be an interesting
Newcastle, one. That's it. I wanted to hear that that little twang in the accent. I love it. And of course, I've got Billy from Total Screamers making his debut. Aston Villa fan. Hope you're doing well as well, my man.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, mate. Pleasure to be on. And yeah, hopefully Villa don't ruin my weekend. But, it's tough opposition. Stands every chance that they will do.
Yeah, we're going to get into it. Look, I don't even know. I think one of you guys mentioned, I think Cav mentioned it, that both games are on TV tomorrow. And one's an early kickoff. And Cav, I'm not sure if there's any Premier League manager or team that loves an early kickoff. But it's one of those ones where it's got to be done, right? It's, in the case of Arsenal and Aston Villa, it seems a bit strange that that's 2 weeks in a row that Arsenal are the early kickoff. Arteta did make a bit of a hoo-ha about it in the press conference, but I guess it comes with the territory now. When you're in this league of when you're successful, when you're winning games, when you're in a fight for anything, the moans are gonna come out. It's pretty natural, right?
Yeah, because look, when you're winning and you're in good form, you just want the games to keep coming. You don't care where they are. You just want to see your team play again because you're convinced that they're going to do well. But when things start to, go against you a little bit, you're not playing as well, you're not getting the results, you start to focus on these things. And it's just them fine margins, You think, if I'm on a Saturday morning as opposed to late kickoff on a Sunday, there's an extra little bit of time to work on training and things like this. But look, truth be told, man, it don't really matter. It's not as if they're playing in midweek in the Champions League and then it's a quick turnaround and stuff. That's not the situation this week. So early kickoff. And for Arsenal, I'm sure Bilal will tell us more, but they'd have loved an early kickoff, a few weeks back because they were setting the pace. They were the ones getting out in front, get their wins under the bag, pile the pressure on everybody else. And now it's slightly different because if they get a bad result, you know, a result that they don't want, suddenly it's a boost for Man City that are going to play later on in the day. So yeah, timings are funny when they go these little margins.
It's so spot on, Bilal. I don't know your feelings. I can guess the emotions that you've been through, but I guess it's one of those ones where you've got no choice but to brush yourself down. You've had a sticky spell. It's culminated in you losing your spot at the top of the table, but you played before Man City, and psychology is huge. We know it is. The boost that you need, this could be the boost you need, but you must collect 3 points. We're going to get into the side stories of Mr. Good Evening and everything else, but you've just got to get 3 points. It's not about the performance. It's not about how pretty you look on the eye. Tomorrow, you must go to Villa Park and regain that top spot, even if it is for a few hours.
Yeah, we need to go there tomorrow, and the pressure's on. I think Arteta today complaining about the kickoffs. In a way, I think managers do it to even take the pressure off their team, right? Like maybe distract and deflect from maybe things that happen on the pitch in recent games, and to say, listen, the fixture schedule is not really helping. But really and truly, this is only the first midweek game we played in a while. Right? Obviously, we've not played Europa League games yet. They're not starting up for us until like March. We played Man City. It's not like Man City have a massive advantage. They're going to play 3 p.m. against Nottingham Forest. So it's not that big of a deal. But of course, a 12:30 kickoff, no one likes it. They probably have to wake up way earlier, eat way earlier, do everything earlier, travel up, and all of these sort of things definitely come into it. But for me, as a fan, weirdly enough, I looked at the game, 12:30, and I was thinking, you know what? I'm okay, because you don't really have much time to think about that Man City loss anymore. You just straight away going into a game against Villa, you can literally just exercise those demons, so to speak. So I'm excited for the game, but it's a big pressure game now. And every game seems to have more pressure than the next because we keep, in the last few games, fumbling. Whether it was Everton away, stinky game, lost 1-0 to a header. Whether it's Brentford, you go 1-0 up, you fumble 1-1, probably wrongfully allowed, yes, but still 1-1. Brentford actually played really well on the day as well. And then you go to that City game, you look good for the first half, but if you look at the goals, you look back, how many of those were just mistakes from our own players? And now you're going into the Villa game against an ex-manager who's got a point to prove, away from home. The atmosphere is probably going to be rocking. And I can imagine the pressure now is on the team, because if they don't win, for example, man, it's not a blip anymore. Now it's a problem. Right now, if we win tomorrow, we can call the last few games a blip and we go on a bit of a run. But if you lose this game or you draw this game, all of a sudden, it's not a blip anymore. It's a massive issue. And how do we recover from that? Where do we go from there? Because right now, we still got the advantage. We've got the game in hand. We've got all of these things. But these only matter if you get the 3 points.
Pete, I want to come to you before we get the Aston Villa side of things. Obviously, from Newcastle point of view, you're anticipating or hoping that you're in these kind of title races in the next couple of years, the trajectory that you guys are on. And obviously, we're going to get into the Newcastle-Liverpool game later on. But how do you see this Arsenal team? I'm assuming none of you guys anticipated this level of progression from Arteta and Arsenal, or did you?
Personally, I didn't at the beginning of the season. I didn't think Arsenal would do what they're doing now, but I did think it just goes to show the job that Arteta's done to put them in the position that they are. They played some outstanding football. We played them at the Emirates at the beginning of January, and we're quite a progressive team ourselves this season, and we were pushed back on many occasions, and it was not down to us. It was down to the fact that they pushed us back because their football was so good. And although they didn't break us down that night, our defence was outstanding. It was still a very, very tough game.
A backs to the wall types game, yeah.
Definitely. It wasn't we were sitting in and just sitting behind the board. It wasn't like that. We've had plenty of years like that under Mike Ashley. It wasn't like that. We tried to get forward when we could, but we just couldn't at times. And that's down to what Arteta's done. And I have to be honest, I had tipped Arsenal to continue doing what they're doing and win the league. I genuinely thought that would be the case. And I haven't seen anything from Man City that made me think anything different. But I've got to be honest, the last few games have surprised me. With Arsenal, I didn't expect them to drop the points that they had. Obviously, with Man City, it's very, very different. Man City are a well-oiled machine, and they proved that on Wednesday. But the Everton game, the Brentford game, I fully expected Arsenal to pick up 6 points, and that's kind of changed my mind on things. And it's almost like with Arsenal dropping those points, Man City have kicked into gear. And we know when Man City kick into gear, you boys know it more than anybody. You know, those years where you guys have literally been neck and neck to the end of the season. You know that when they kick into gear, it's very hard to kind of to shift them at that point. And I just think psychologically for both Arsenal and Man City winning that and taking them top of the league could be the difference. Yes, Arsenal play early, and yes, they may well win. Or get a point that puts them back top of the league. But mentally, Arsenal were, 8-10 points clear and looking very comfortable not long ago. And now they see Man City at the top. That has to affect them in some way, shape or form. And we know that Man City, they are serial winners of the Premier League. They've proven it in recent years. And now they've got a sniff of it. I just think that they're smelling blood right now, and I think that might be the difference.
Yeah, look, there's no getting away from it. This is, and me and Cav can speak from first-hand experience. It's almost torture. Like every weekend was like we're talking about a loss being sort of devastating for Arsenal. Draws were devastating, right, Cav? We know this is the time of year where we used to look at games. They play first or we play first. And it's almost, you almost can't enjoy it, like the tension. Exactly. And it was, and you can't drop a point. These are the levels. But I find, look, Billy and Pete and Bilal might say it's sour grapes and bitterness, but Cav, I don't see the same quality or the levels of football or even point collecting as we've seen when us two were going at it in the last few years. There has definitely been a drop off.
Yeah, totally. I think there has. I think with the introduction of sort of Haaland coming in, there's been a little bit of a transition in how Man City play themselves. Some weeks they look okay, and others they really don't. And they're still, trying to work on their new style of play going forward. But the crazy thing is, you just can't breathe with them. You look at your own team and you're so proud of what you're achieving. As Bilal, I'm sure he is with his team this year. You're winning, you're playing well, you feel invincible at times. Yet you get a couple of draws and suddenly they're right behind you. And you're like, how? How has this happened? Because they're apparently supposed to be going through a transition. And we've watched them in games where they've not looked good, yet they're still here. They're still around. And the minute that they get to this side of the season, if you start dropping points, draws, not even losses, they, like you said, they smell blood and they just get level with you. They overtake you, and there's no rest now. If Arsenal are going to remain in this title race, it's go every single game till the very end. And that's the point which we say as Liverpool fans to Arsenal. We've been saying at the start of the season is you just wait until the turn of the year. The pressure changes, and now you're experiencing that. So this is where you show what you're made of as a team. They're a young team. They're fantastic players. But it remains to be seen whether they can do it. But this is proper big boy football now.
Billy, they come to Villa Park tomorrow. If I was an Arsenal fan, I'm trying to think, even if I was a positive Arsenal fan, it's not a game that I'd be really looking forward to. A, because of the kickoff and sort of the short turnaround. And B, Mr. Good Evening is in charge of you. Now, looking at it from your point of view, talk to us. Give us an indication. Give us a summary of his time so far. So let's take it back. Would he have been one of your choices of managerial on the managerial list in terms of replacing the previous coach? And what kind of job has he done?
So when Steven Gerrard was sacked, the first name that came to my mind was Pochettino because he's there, he's available. We've got ambitious owners. I thought we were going to shoot for the stars and go all out to get him. And because Emery was at Villarreal, I didn't really expect us to go near him. especially when someone like Pochettino is around. But as soon as I heard the rumours, my ears pricked up and they had my attention. And I'm just so glad that we could get it over the line. And he's just been fantastic, with the same players that Gerrard just couldn't get a tune out of. We've got on a really good run of form, beat Man United in his first game at Villa Park. Villa Park was bouncing. We went on a really decent run as well after the World Cup break. Unfortunately, the first game back, we lost to you guys. But as soon as our players got back, as soon as Martinez came back, the Spurs game on New Year's Day, we really got a decent run together. And we've just looked, for the most part anyway, we've looked a really good, strong team to beat. Past couple of games against Leicester and Man City, it's been a little bit meh, if you know what I mean. The Leicester game in particular was just individual errors cost us, which was really frustrating. But we were still in the game for the most part, and it was down to our own fault. The Man City game was a bit different. Tyrone Mings was out, who's been a massive, massive part of our defence since we got back up into the Premier League. And we all know that he's not the best defender in the world. He's not your Beckenbauer. He's not your Baresi. He's not your Maldini by any stretch of the imagination. But he's a leader on the pitch. And when he's not there, we really, really miss him. And I think I saw a stat the other day that said, since when Tyrone Mings hasn't been in the Villa lineup, the 12 games he's been out injured or something, we've actually lost 11 of them. So that just shows how big of an influence he has on us. So yeah, buzzing that hopefully he's going to be back fit, buzzing that he's signed his contract as well for another 3.5 years. I think that's been recorded. So I think just everything, it's just got a decent feel around Villa at the minute, despite the past couple of results. And, we've got a point to prove. We've caught Arsenal potentially on a bit of a rocky form. They still looked fantastic against Man City. Don't get me wrong. They play some fantastic football, really, really enjoyable football to watch as a neutral. I've been cheering them on all season. I can't lie, because I just don't like Man City. I was the same when Liverpool were in the title race. Wanted Liverpool to win it, so I just don't like Man City. But yeah, the only thing is for me now that makes me really nervous for this game is the fact that for Arsenal it's a must win. If they won that game on Wednesday against Man City, yes, they've got a little bit of confidence back, but they're not. You might have gone on a complacency one.
Exactly. We can capitalize on them. They're thinking, it's only Villa.
Yeah, we've got Man City out the way. That's the big one. That's the important one, But now they're going to be thinking, right, if we don't win this, then the title's gone, essentially. So it's a funny one. We've got Unai Emery, who's again's got a point to prove. It's going to be a really tasty matchup, and I wish I could watch it as a neutral.
Yeah, it is one of those. It's got the makings of so many subplots, right? In football, we love subplots, innit? Like Unai Emery. Can you imagine him doing the interview after the game? It might be evening, it might not be, but can you imagine him coming to the press conference and saying good evening? Exactly. Can you imagine that? Like Villa fans must be crying, like waiting for that. But Bilal, what's your opinion on Unai Emery's time at Arsenal, and how do you feel about Unai Emery? Like now that he's gone, was you a fan of his? Was you harshly treated or didn't rate him?
Yeah, it's a weird one. Unai Emery is definitely a top coach, but when you're at a team like Arsenal, who expect you to implement a style of play, I don't think that's his forte. When he's at Villarreal, when he was at Sevilla, he's the type of manager who's very tactically flexible. And when he first came into Arsenal, that's what really got him going. I remember the game against Tottenham at home, made 2 changes at halftime, always switching things up, got the win 4-2. At the beginning, things were looking great, but we never playing football. Like, you never knew what to really expect when you watch Arsenal. I didn't really know how were we going to actually win a game. Aubameyang, Lacazette, those times, they will get the goals, but I didn't really understand. Was there build-up? Are we setting up to defend? There's no plan. And towards the end, the wheels just fell off. And, I remember that game against Frankfurt in the Europa League. Yeah, he got sacked after that because he just completely had no ideas in terms of how to implement a style of play. And that's why Arteta has been successful, because he's come in and put in a style of play straight away. From day one, we kind of got the idea of what Arteta was trying to do, even though towards the end with the FA Cup run in the first year, yes, he played a 5 at the back. Yes, he sat deep to win that FA Cup. Yes, he did that. But we knew Arteta, what he's really trying to do. With Emery, yeah, exactly. With Emery, we never had that. But that doesn't mean he's not a good coach. At a team like Villa, who's trying to push in probably to that top 6 or top 8 even, I think he's a very good coach, because that's when he's at his best, when he can be tactically flexible. He's got the 5 subs now. He's the type of manager who thrives on substitutions, on just switching things up. You don't really know what to do. Even the game against Man City the other day, right? From the first half to the second half, you saw a big difference in the way Villa played. He's a manager who affects the game. He's an in-game manager. That's what I say. An in-game manager, he's really, really good. But when you're at a team like Arsenal, sometimes it might be a bit hard to implement your style of play. It's weird, because I feel like he could do a good job at a team like Chelsea, for example. You know, with that kind of club where there's not a specific way you've got to really play the game. But when you come to a team like Arsenal, it's a bit hard to be a tactically flexible manager all the time and go game by game. You have to play a certain way. I'm sure that's the same for Liverpool. It's the same for teams like Man United. It's a difficult one. But at Villa, they've definitely got one of the best managers in the Premier League, in my opinion.
I think Billy, what what Bilal's probably suggesting to me, it will suggest that Unai Emery probably, I don't know, big club. He's not ready for a big club, or maybe he doesn't enjoy being a big club manager. So the teams that he's managed, Villarreal, Seville,
PSG,
now Villa.
he did do PSG.
Yeah, exactly. So the 2 clubs that had stars, so to speak, and big name players, he hasn't done so well. Yet he's done well at mid. No disrespect to Villa, but mid-table to coming up, trying to get into the Europa League spots, where he can, where the crowd and the fans of that fan base don't have high expectations, and anything that they do well is a bonus. So he can take his time, mold teams in his sort of style. Do you find that that's pretty much the case with Villa? And if that's the case, what has he changed tactically then from Stevie G's time? Because obviously, you know, Stevie G as a player was swashbuckling, attacking, but what's he changed in terms of formations and tactically Villa to make you guys difficult to beat? Because you've had an upturn in results, and pretty much the same players, if I'm mistaken. You didn't buy anyone in January or anything, did you?
Well, we bought 2 players in. We bought another left back, Alex Moreno, and we bought a young Colombian striker, Duran, one of my favorites.
But that was it. He needs to go to Worldy the other day.
Yeah,
against City.
If that had gone in, I mean, I heard earlier that the bar's still rattling. So, but no, what's Emery changed? It almost looks like we're playing simple football. To be honest with you, simple, but I'm sure the players will say that it can be quite complicated at times. But what Emery's really said in his press conferences is, he's not really too bothered about formations. He just wants us to play in the space. Wherever there's space, he wants us to play. And I think it just suits the players. You know, he's playing Leon Bailey as well, getting the best out of him.
Looks a different player.
He's a completely different player. I mean, he's very frustrating because he can be very hot and cold. Some days he's red hot, right at it. Looks like he's going to cause danger every time he gets the ball. Others, you don't know what he's going to do. He just cuts back, cuts on his left, on his right, and then eventually gets intercepted. So he's a very frustrating player, but he is getting the best out of the players that we've got at the club, which Gerrard he couldn't do. I don't know for what reason. I don't think he was all there tactically, if I'm being totally honest with you. And yeah, I mean, Gerrard was there for a year, and I couldn't tell you at what point throughout that year. Well, I don't think a year on, I don't think he knew his best team. He just didn't really have an idea, a style. He tried to implement a couple of styles, but they just wouldn't work. And Emery's come in, instantly said, right, you know what? We're going to play this 4-4-2. and this is how you're going to play, and it just works.
So is that your formation he plays, the 4-4-2?
Yeah. So what he does is we've got the back four. The left back is normally the one that bombs forward, whether that will be Luca Dean or Alex Moreno. He's got the left back that bombs forward, gets involved in the attacking play, whereas Ashley Young typically is the right back, and he kind of stays back as a part of like a back three when we're going forward. In the middle, we've got Kamara and Louise. Kamara's the pivot, if you like. He gets the ball, kind of sprays his passes out. That he advances the play, basically. Douglas Luiz, that flair player, just pings balls about, top quality player. And then on the wings, we've got Buendia and Jacob Ramsey. Jacob Ramsey's more of that traditional number 8, if you like, can get forward, but can also defend. Whereas Buendia is more of a traditional 10. So he'll float in and around that area, play the passes forward to Ollie Watkins and Leon Bailey, and it's just been working really well, to be honest with you. Ollie Watkins is on red hot form, although every now and then it takes him a few chances to get his goal. He has been scoring. So it's
just some of some of the players that you've mentioned there. I can imagine being a Villa fan pulling my hair out on my chest because none left on my head, but. They like
that's a weird image, Grizz.
Just a beard,
Tarzan style. Do you know what I mean? But like Buendia, like so highly thought of, big money move. Leon Bailey has all the talent in the world. Watkins, even our very own Phil Coutinho. It's just the consistency, isn't it? They've got the talent, like all those players I've mentioned. If we think about it, just. Oh shit, he's a good player. I'll take him.
Yeah.
They've just, and then you wonder, why haven't they performed? Why are Villa so always struggling? And it's just a consistency issue. You're hoping now that Emery's got hold of him. He's got a tune out of Buendia who looks much better.
Yeah.
We've already spoke about Leon Bailey, and it looks like Watkins looks like a different player as well. Is it just a matter of getting hold of the right manager? Are you suggesting that Stevie G wasn't probably the best man manager, and Emery sort of has got these guys really going now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from what I've seen anyway with Steven Gerrard, he's just not a very good man manager, and I think that kind of showed in the way that he treated Tyrone Mings over the captaincy. Stripped him of the captaincy, which I thought was very harsh anyway. I mean, I just need to go back to the stat that I mentioned earlier. When he's not in the team, Villa are non-existent. We just don't win when he's not in the team.
I've got to tell you, Tyrone Mings, people on my channel will know, I'm trying to control my laughter or smile or smirk because I genuinely rate him as one of the most rated players. If you know what I mean. Like, he's genuinely the most rated player. Like, and that doesn't mean he's the worst.
No.
It just means I don't see what everyone sees in him as in terms of to rate him that high. Like, how he's become an English international, I don't know. The record is crazy.
Valid.
Look, that record.
Left foot tax. That's what it is. It's left foot tax.
No. But Billy's stats there speak for themselves, right? I just think he's not great at all, and I think you needed to move on from him. But you're saying that the majority of the Villa fan base are very happy with him and want him long term at the club.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. That it kind of splits opinion in the Villa fan base.
Few. At least we got a split.
A lot of Villa fans are. Why are we signing this guy up? You know, he's very mistake prone. They don't really understand what he does good. Whereas some of us, me included, I wasn't a big fan of his last season, for example. We all know that he's a very mistake prone defender, but the way he's turned it around this season, he's been so important for us. Even when Gerrard was still at the club, the way he took the stripping of the captaincy, he didn't let that affect him. He just got on with it. He was just playing his football. and he's been a really, really important part for us. And from what I've read as well, he did an interview that I've not been able to watch yet on Villa TV, and one of the quotes that I've seen is that Unai Emery was actually the one who initiated the contract. So that just tells me that he's got total faith in what he's seen so far, which I can understand, to be honest with you, because he's been solid for us.
Fair enough. Let's start off with probably Newcastle fans' opinion on a result, because I think it probably affects you the least. How you see this game, Pete? How do you think? Give us a score prediction. It's a tricky one for me.
Yeah, it is. For some reason, I've got in my head 1-1. And
I'll take that now.
Yeah. Really?
I don't think Villa will take that. I just think it purely because it's. I'm right. It's at Villa Park. Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking Villa at Villa Park, fans behind them. They've done all right there, to be fair, since you've done all right at Villa Park, and I just think the question mark for me as to why I'm thinking it's a draw is will there be a little bit of a hangover with Arsenal after that defeat? Will that have knocked them for 6, and will that affect them in this game, or will they come back bigger, better, and stronger? And I think the result tomorrow will give us an indication on whether Arsenal will fight back or whether they'll drift. And that will be a big thing. And the reason why I say a draw is because I do think Villa will be bang up for this. Emery will get them well up for this game. There's no doubt about it. And whether Arsenal play their good football or not, I think Villa might even score first, which might put a little bit more pressure on Arsenal, and Arsenal maybe come back and nick something. So I'm going to stick with my prediction 1-1. I think it'll be a really entertaining game, like Billy said, for the neutral. But I think a draw.
Cav, what are we saying? How are you seeing this one?
I think Villa might win, and the reason being is I think Arsenal have to come out and win, and Unai Emery knows that, and I think that just sets the game plan up for him so perfectly. He can just try and stifle them, and then use the pace of Bailey and Watkins to try and expose the channels. And Arsenal, if the game goes on where they've not scored or they're not ahead in the game, it's really going to question their mentality. How are they going to, mix it up to try and break this team down and things like this? They can maybe bring on Trossard and try and change the personnel slightly, but there's not loads of options there to do it either. And Arteta looks as though, some people are saying he's been fat out. I think that's a little bit harsh, but does he have a plan B at this stage to try and drag these results out? So I just think Unai Emery, am I right, Bill, in saying that he's done quite well when he's come up against Arteta as well? I think I
believe so. I think it was 1 win, 1 draw from what I've heard.
Yeah, so
Europa League, I remember Arteta was doing some mad experiments for a false 9 and all of that. Yeah, they done us. Yeah, I remember.
I just think I'm looking at Unai Emery and I'm looking at what he's done with that Villa team, and the fact that they sort of look as though they know what they're doing now. They know what the sort of game plan is, and it's sort of the blueprints are laid out for this game. Like I say, Arsenal have got to come out and win. So that at some point, if they're not ahead, they've got to throw caution to the wind and just go for it. And I think that kind of plays into a team like Villa's hand. Even though they're at home, they can just be like, let's just keep this tight and let's just wait for our moments. And I don't know. I can just see it. And there's quality in there. We've discussed them players. There is quality in that Villa side to go and get goals. They just need to take the chances.
Bill, what's your prediction? Let's have a prediction from you as well then. Are you confident?
We have to keep a clean sheet. Our record at home is poor in terms of clean sheets, but away from home, we're normally pretty good. But recently, as of late, going from the Everton game, defensively, we've not been great. And that's some people say maybe bring back Kieran Tierney into the team, try and solidify that back four a little bit and bring some maybe more height into the team as well, because I think set pieces will be something to look out for. But I do really think, to be honest, right, if Villa play like any way they did in that first half against Man City, against Arsenal, they will lose like the game. I don't see how they would stop Arsenal in that situation if they played like they did in that first half. But I don't expect them to play like they did in that first half, away from home, at Man City, at Villa Park, at home against Arsenal. So even last season, it was a tougher game. We only won 1-0, and towards the end, we were kind of holding on, and it was one of those ones to get the 3 points and run away. So it's not an easy game at all. I would, in my head, I've kind of got like a 2-0 kind of game. It's one of those games where I don't know, it won't be easy, but we need to play with energy. And that's the one thing I think, if you watch the Everton game, even the Brentford game, like the energy of the team
lacked.
just very like completely different to what we're used to. Very slow, very methodical, sideways, nothing incisive, nothing in behind, nothing.
But it's a young team. You haven't got a massive squad. He's relying on the same set of players, and this is the time of season or year that you need to keep it freshen up. And I think he may do that tomorrow with the likes of Trossard coming in, with the likes of Ben White, Tomiyasu swapping out again. He may even throw a Fabio Vieira in there. You don't know. You never know.
And Smith Rowe today training as well with the team. Looks to be back to near enough full fitness, hopefully. But obviously, match sharpness is a different thing. I think we need to go back to playing with more fluidity. That's the main thing. Everything's a bit rigid when we play. I think the first half against Man City was good. That was Arsenal that I expected to see, even with the lack of Partey, Jesus, etc. Maybe Trossard down the middle, like as a false nine, helping out things, because Martinelli and Nketiah is a big problem in the team now. Someone put a stat out saying Nketiah's passed to Martinelli once. Like they don't even pass to each other. Like there's no connection on the pitch between those two, right? So it's one of those ones where Martinelli keeps getting subbed off, because when he's playing with Nketiah, they just can't. They don't understand what each other's doing. Although Nketiah's been trying, he's been running in behind. It's just not been enough, right? So it's one of those ones. It's a decision for Arteta. He can stick with Nketiah. We can stick with Martinelli. I think either you play Trossard on the left, you play Trossard up front. He just has to start for me. Jorginho, for me, I'm a fan, to be honest, of Jorginho. I'm not gonna lie. I've always been a little bit of a fan of Jorginho. I think he's a good player. I think he gets overhated because of his limitations. Like, yes, we know he's not quick. Yes, we know he can't really, slide tackle.
Yeah, his physicality is always brought into question, isn't it? He's a very good player on the pitch. It's not a problem.
100%.
Sorry, on the ball, I should say. Sorry.
Yeah, but on the ball, he's a top player, and he's probably the best player right now at Arsenal in terms of controlling the game with his passing, more so than even Thomas Partey. So he offers something different to the team. The issue now is Arsenal. I think that Xhaka position, I think Arteta's still going to play Xhaka regardless, right? But it's one of those ones. That position there needs adjusting in terms of the final third. Xhaka, he offers some stability, obviously, in the team. But when we start getting to the final third, we saw at least 3 attacks, I think, against Man City break down because of the lack of Granit Xhaka, right? But for me, I think we need to play more fluidity, maybe get Tierney back in the team because it's one of those ones. If you're Kieran Tierney, I don't know, use a question for everyone. If you're Kieran Tierney, right, you're top left back. You've seen Zinchenko come in. Arsenal are going through a bad patch of form. You've seen Ben White on the right side get subbed off or benched, right, for one game for Tomiyasu, but you're still not really getting a game. Wouldn't that be in the back of your head? Like, when am I ever going to get back in the team? Like, if it's not now,
I think tomorrow.
Play.
I think tomorrow's one of those games where he may get a look in. But we got to move on. Go give us a score prediction.
2-0 Arsenal. I'll go 2-0.
Billy?
I think we've got to keep a clean sheet, to be honest.
I'm going to be optimistic as well and say, look, my head says that we're going to lose. I think it's a must-win game for Arsenal, like I say, but my heart is saying that we can nick something out of it. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 as well.
No, Billy, come on, you're leaving me stranded out here.
I was going to say, Billy's bowled it right there, right at the end. I thought he was going to say,
we're going to win 3-0. There we go.
Billy, are you going to the game?
No, I live in Spain, mate. I wish I could.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
I was about to say, give me a ticket, I'll go support your team, mate.
I thought Billy started off like, I'm going to be really positive, and I thought, here we go, and then he, he's probably being realistic. Arsenal, it's a must. It's a very, very important game. We see the Qatar flags in the chat. Qatar is have just made a bid for Man United. We don't know if it's happening. Bid is in, but obviously the difference people
I haven't seen anything.
Just very quickly. No, there's an official statement. There's an official statement from the bidders.
Oh, not by that Qatari guy.
No. Bilal, if you can find that, if you can find that in the background, we'll address it. Read out the statement. But we've got a United fans. Katie says United fans do realize that a bid doesn't mean the sale will be accepted, right? This is what I was going to say. But there are so many more steps to go. People need to calm down. But look, as a Man United fan, we haven't got a Man United fan on the panel today. You'd be excited. There's no problem. Be excited. Someone said to me yesterday, "Are you jealous?" I said, "Jealous of what?" That we're being bought by Qataris. I said, "No. The only time I'm going to be jealous is when you're good, when you're winning titles and Champions League game. That's when I'm going to be jealous. At the moment, you've got money. You've always had money. There you go. So we've got Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani, the chairman of one of the Qatar banks, QIB, has made bid for Manchester United. Wants to restore United to former glories with emphasis on youth and infrastructure. No, dare all profit to be reinvested in community through 92 Foundation." So there you go. We've addressed it. Back to the game tomorrow, and I think it's time to change my headgear because apparently it's war tomorrow, Pete. This is what I wanted to come to you for, right? We've woken up, right, Kav, to stories, and it's apparently a very reliable journalist, or sorry, what shall I say? Not reliable, respected journalist, Newcastle journalist, who suggests that Newcastle and Liverpool is the new rivalry, and there's quite a bit of animosity. Kav, I want to come to you first. Mm-hmm. I've never felt the animosity between the two clubs. I've always felt, what's the word? Respect, plenty of respect, and enjoyed the two clubs sort of encounters, obviously, in the past, right? I don't get this rivalry, animosity type thing.
Yeah, I'm not quite getting it, to be totally honest with you. Like, both clubs have very respectable, passionate fan bases. That must be said, and I think we do respect each other's clubs and the support and the heritage of both their clubs, right? But I'm not quite sure where this rivalry has come from. I mean, like, you have to build a rivalry on the pitch. Like, we can talk in 5 years' time if Newcastle are fighting with us for the league and things like this. But at this point in time, just because they currently sit in the top four, I don't understand why now we've got to start battling each other in that respect. I'll be honest, Chris, I have no idea where this has come from. So if anybody else knows, please inform me, because
Who was the journalist? Who was the journalist?
Oh shit, I can't remember now, but it was a
Newcastle journalist. I can't remember.
But Pete, I think in the next few years, I honestly believe the way you've structured your club with the new ownership, and you haven't gone gung-ho and you've been very strategic, I think there will be a rivalry in the next few years. But it's not a rivalry based on animosity or hatred. And I just wanted to get your views on sort of how you've seen Liverpool in the last couple of years and how you see the rivalry developing possibly in the next couple of years. Luke Edwards.
I've just seen it in the chat. Luke Edwards, yeah. Let's move on.
Say no more.
Luke Edwards, in terms of transfers, is very, very reliable with regards to Newcastle. But in terms of stories like that, pinch of salt. Like, being honest, sorry, go on.
Sorry, Pete. No, I just wanted to ask you a question as a Newcastle fan. Are you a bit frustrated by that? Because it feels like you're trying to build a bit of relevance. No offense, but I don't feel like you need to do that, because you are relevant and you will be relevant. So why do you need to sort of, pull Liverpool's name into it to try and build up this sort of?
This is not a Newcastle thing. This is a Luke Edwards thing. This is what Luke Edwards does. Luke Edwards was telling us for nearly 2 years that the PIF weren't interested in Newcastle, and the bid was never going to happen, and the sale was never going to happen. And then when it did, he soon changed his tune. He's one of those guys. So he puts these odd articles that if you don't support Newcastle, you'll read it and go, "What, really?" As if it's gospel, but nah. These type of articles are generated for him in order to get the reaction that you guys have just given me off the back of that. This is what he does. But I have to say, in terms of his transfer knowledge with regards to Newcastle, he has hit a number of things on the money. But I have to be honest, within the Newcastle fan base, and look, I speak to a lot of Newcastle fans, whether it's match day, whether it's, you know, on social media, there is a lot of respect for Liverpool fans and Liverpool in general. And there has been for years. I think, you know, there is a genuine dislike for Man United and always has been. I think that goes back to the 90s. So I think that's probably where we share our mutual respect and understanding from the back of that. But there's no rivalry there at all. I think what maybe he's alluding to, and I'm saying this having not read his article, is that Newcastle feel a little bit unjust in the way in which you won the game. Now, you might argue that with regards to the time wasted and all the rest of it that was talked about in the previous game, and we could probably discuss that. But, you know, we felt we should have got something from that game. We felt that we played well and defended well enough to win the game, and you guys obviously nicked it really late on. There was the argument of, you know, you played an extra 3 minutes and all that stuff. So I think Newcastle fans are up for the game tomorrow. There's no rivalry.
No, exactly. There's a massive difference between being up for it and being feeling hard done by, which I think you have every right to. It was a lucky goal at the end. The game didn't warrant us having a winner. Yeah. You didn't really deserve to win. It was peering out to be a draw. But sort of this hatred, I think he used a word. Someone in the chat let me know. He used a word that really sort of got both fan bases, it seems, off guard. But generally, our two clubs have been on a sort of brilliant friendship rivalry, great classic games. Obviously, a lot of our games have us coming out on top. But tomorrow, Pete, you are ahead of us, and you are ahead of us on absolute merit. You guys have been one of the most difficult, high energy, potent teams in the Premier League. Now, you have come unstuck a little bit in terms of getting the 3 points, but you've still had the mental resolve and capacity to not lose games. Yeah. How are you taking this into tomorrow? Because, and also just to add another question, because first time on my channel, I need to give you really some hard questions to get you going. And also on top of that, cup final next week. That's a massive, massive day as a Newcastle fan.
Yeah. So first and foremost, the form's not been great recently. Drew, I think it's 5 out of 6. But equally, we're 17 unbeaten. We're not losing games. We're still picking up points. And you know, I said on Saturday after the Bournemouth game that was our worst performance of the season, and it was. But that wasn't me, you know, being horrible or disrespectful to Newcastle. That just shows us where we are. It was our worst
levels
of the season, but yet we still drew the game and probably should have won it with the chances that we had, because we never really were under pressure. We gifted them an opportunity in which we cleared one off the line, but other than that, we were dominating possession and the only team really looking to score a goal. So that's where we're at right now. And we look, without Bruno Guimaraes, we are a different team. Like he's so good and so important to the way we play. But we are starting to build and develop an understanding within that midfield without him. And it's been an amazing season. First and foremost, it's been an amazing season. We didn't expect to be in this position. We are at least 2 years ahead of where we expected to be. And I have to go back to the beginning. We are not going to be a Man City or a Chelsea where we're going to throw money at this. It was never going to be the case. FFP was always going to be behind us, checking every move and every signing that we make. So we're not going to do that. We haven't got the revenue yet to be able to go out and splash 100 million on Jack Grealish and do all the stuff that
Neymar,
and all the rest of it. We're not in that position, and nor are we going to be, because we've got Dan Ashworth in who doesn't operate like that. He worked wonders with Brighton, and the reason why Brighton are performing so well and their players are playing so well, the likes of Casado, is because of Dan Ashworth. Now, Dan Ashworth, if he can create that for Newcastle, We don't need to spend multi-millions if we can go and find those gems and bring them into the team. So we're operating very differently to those big takeovers that have gone before. Yeah, we'll talk about Man United. If they do get taken over by the Qataris, you will see them move mad and make Chelsea-like signings because they've got the biggest revenue in the country. So they can go and do that straight off the bat, and it won't be an issue for them. However, going back to Newcastle United, we need this game tomorrow. We need this game because it's the last game at home before the cup final, and the Newcastle fans, you'll see you'll see war flags put out, a big flag and display because it would have been Sir Bobby Robson's 90th birthday this week.
Tomorrow? This week.
Yeah. So it would have been this week. It might have even been tomorrow. It might even be tomorrow.
Amazing emotional atmosphere.
Massive display. The fans are bang up for it, and we're going to want as fans to send off Newcastle to the cup final. The atmosphere is going to be up. The players are going to be up for it because we need a performance because we haven't performed the way we should have in recent games, and so it makes for, as Billy said earlier with the Villa Arsenal game, it makes for a fantastic game for the neutral. And I have to be honest, you guys need to win more than us because you guys are building and you're chasing at the moment, so you need the win. But I think we've got a great chance of winning tomorrow. I really do, because I think the fans behind us, the past result at Anfield, still in the back of a lot of fans and players' minds. A lot of interviews over this course of this week, they've still got it in the back of their minds, the way in which we lost. Remember, it's the only game we've lost this season in the Premier League, and it was that 97th minute goal. And we're towards the end of Feb, going into March, and we've only lost one game. So we almost want to avenge that. And so I just think that we're going to be bang up for it. But we've got to be mindful that regardless of how Liverpool have played this season, they've still got quality players and they can hurt you at any given moment. And Everton found that out, the hard way on Monday.
Cav, the way Pete's built it up, I didn't anticipate Newcastle being in a state of high emotion. The feeling towards the cup final. I mean, he's built it out brilliantly. Like, I'm now shitting bricks. I wasn't shitting bricks. I was like, after Everton, I thought we might have something for them. We were building up a bit of momentum. All week we heard Newcastle have got injuries to key players. Bruno Guimaraes, one of the outstanding midfielders of the
They're all back.
I know. Exactly.
Maxi and Miron, they've been training all. Joe Willock's the only one that's not playing, and obviously
Joe Willock's the only one, and Callum Wilson's a doubt. They may not risk him for the cup final.
He trained today. Today. He'll probably be on the bench. That's
what I mean. Yeah, exactly. So suddenly we're hearing with the Bobby Robson remembrance probably taking place. St. James Park, 5:30 p.m. kickoff. Everything points to another humbling of Liverpool Football Club this season. We can't afford a loss, Cav. Any slight, small chance that we've got of getting into the top four, for me, equals a win tomorrow. Do you agree or disagree, or do you think we can get away with a draw possibly?
No. We have to win now for me. And you're dead right. There's a lot that works against us in this fixture. But actually, when that's been the case, that's when Liverpool have stepped up. So you can go back to sort of the Man City game, for example, and stuff like this. It's when we we always expect to win. But it's when things have gone in our favour, or we're looking at an opposition and going, we should beat this should be okay. And then we let ourselves down. Whereas when we've needed to step up, I feel like we have done on the odd occasion. And it's Newcastle, and they currently occupy a space that we want. We also have a game in hand. And if we manage to beat you guys, will be 3 points off. So all the incentive is there for Liverpool to very quickly boost themselves up to where they want to be. Obviously not where we wanted to be at the start of the season, but where we want to be at this point in time in that top four. So there shouldn't be any issues for us motivation-wise. And the task is there to go and get the points. Liverpool have a little bit of a field-goal factor about them, I think, at the minute, because we got a good result and a good performance against Everton. We're not particularly in form. But we had one good game, and we've got injured players coming back. So suddenly things are looking a bit more positive for us. What we need to do is just be very careful in this game that, you know, the energy and the fight we brought to Everton, we need, but it needs to be controlled because we are away and the Newcastle fans will be up for it. And we need to just make sure that although we probably have a bit of confidence and we want to fight and we want to put our impression on the game and take control, we just need to manage the crowd a little bit, perhaps at the start of the game. And maybe if we get hit on the nose a couple of times with some breakouts from Newcastle and things like this, we maybe just need to be a bit smart, use our experience and just build back into the game. That's what I would quite like to see, because I think if it becomes a bit Liverpool firing and Newcastle with the crowd and stuff, it could end up like a bit of a basketball match. And then I don't know who that really benefits, to be honest. So,
yeah, I mean, our key has been in recent times is please don't gift a goal to the opposition. And St. James Park, is it still called St. James Park, Pete? Forgive me for my ignorance if it's not.
It will always be called St. James's Park.
Thank God for that, because I'm old school.
That Mike Ashley nonsense number of years.
Thank God for that, because I'm old school. I would still call it St. James Park as well, but I thought people might say, "Yo, it's called the something stadium
Sports
now."
Direct Arena.
You had to say it, Billy.
Don't bring that into it. It was never ever called that. They tried it didn't work.
Even though Sports Direct, I'm not gonna lie, I used to buy a lot of stuff from there, man. But anyway, that's another story for a different day. St. James Park, I feel right now, in terms of atmosphere, and if you want to get something going, it's probably one of the best atmospheres around Europe. When it gets pumped, and it's the last thing you want to do, concede an early go at Newcastle. I think our best bet is really to stay in the game up to about 30 minutes. And then the way Newcastle have been playing recently and not getting the 3 points, I think they'll push for the win. And the crowd won't let them settle for a draw. And that's when our opportunities may arise through Núñez and Salah on the break, like Everton, 2 breakaway goals. If we concede early, it could be messy, just like Brighton, Brentford, Wolves, etc. But Bilal, as a neutral, probably, how are you seeing this game? It's one of those games where after your game, you want to settle down, 5:30, get the TV on. This is one of those games. It could be an old school classic of the Newcastle Liverpools of the past.
Yeah, this is a perfect game for 5:30. This is what I'm waiting for, hopefully in a good mood.
Barclays, Premier League.
Proper Barclays. Honestly, every time Newcastle play, I think they've been playing 5:30 a lot recently because I feel like I'm watching them 5:30 every Saturday at this point. So, like, I get the atmosphere at the beginning of the games. I'm seeing St. James's Park. I'm like, it's an incredible stadium with incredible fans. I'm like, you know what? If I was like the Man City owners and I brought Man City, I'm like, I could have just brought Newcastle, had the fans, had the atmosphere, and then built them up, and it would have felt, I think, even better. So yeah, I think Newcastle are going to be a problem for years and years to come, as long as obviously this ownership is backing them the way they should be. Because with Mike Ashley, it's probably the worst owner in football, really and truly. Like, Newcastle shouldn't have been where they were, getting even relegated under him. It's too big of a club for that. So yeah, I think Newcastle, if they play the way they should play, Isaac, St. Maximin's fit, right? Almiron, Gordon, that's a lot of pace. That is a lot of pace. I feel like Liverpool could actually get hurt by that, man. But yeah, I'm looking at this game, and I think that Newcastle can get a result. They can get a win. But from Liverpool's point of view, if you go back to the game against Newcastle-Fulham, right? Fulham, I think, showed a way to play against Newcastle as well. You've got to be solid yourselves. You've got to not give them easy chances. Don't let them run in behind too much. You've got to be able to fight with them as well. And if you can get past all of that, then you can maybe get a result. Of course, Fulham were unlucky on the day. Mitrovic, that penalty was a bit of one of the probably the funniest moments of the league. Yeah, exactly. But you know what? Sometimes you get lucky when you deserve to get lucky. And I think Newcastle deserve that sort of luck this season because of how they played throughout the whole season. I think Eddie Howe as well, coming to Arsenal the other day, and you saw the way he set up. It's a tough team to play, man. You're playing the team full of giants. Even though we're linked to Sander Berge in January, I was like, what is this team? All 6'5". Like, what are they trying to create here?
He's a good player.
100%. He's a good player. 20 million would have been a good deal.
You're absolutely spot on to talk about their physicality and height and the power. They've done it the right way. They've picked very Premier League specific type players, haven't they, Billy? Like, they haven't gone gung ho for sort of any names around Europe, sort of even the Dan Burns, the Trippiers, the other Fabian, not Fabian Shaw, sorry, Sven Botman, you know, all powerful, strong runners. Even in midfield, you can see it. They're not going away. They're only going upwards, right, in Newcastle in the next few years. Because, like Pete said, even with their investment, they've been smart, they've been clever, and you can see them building. They definitely will be. By the way, was one of the very few people who said you'll be challenging very minimum top 6 this season, and people laughed at me. Well, you ain't laughing now. Anyway, but Billy, how do you see tomorrow's game on the basis of that as a neutral, I guess?
To be honest with you, I was a bit like you, Grizz. I was looking forward to the game as a neutral anyway, but I was thinking, you know, Liverpool just coming off the back of that Derby Day win, you know, you looked good as well. You looked a bit like the old Liverpool,
a little bit, yeah.
And so I was thinking, you know, you're going to go up to St James's Park, little bit of an upset potentially, but yeah, Dave's just completely spun that into the atmosphere.
I tell you, Dave needs to get into that dressing room, man, of Newcastle.
Sorry,
like
Pete.
He's the man. Pete, sorry, you've got me saying rubbish as well. Sorry. Yeah. Pete's rallied the troops, man, and me and Cav, like suddenly you saw our faces, like we changed tone.
Well, let me respond. Right, you're saying send the troops off for this cup final, and it's massive for you, okay? But do you not think if it gets to sort of 60, 70th minute that some of the players might take their eye off the ball and think about, keep myself for that match day following week?
No, I get it. I get it. And you know, a lot of people have been talking about that, you know, in the build up to this game this week. But Eddie Howe's been very, very clear. And he said, we're going for it. We're going for it tomorrow. Like, he takes one game at a time. He always has said that, to be fair. And, you know, we were asked about whether we would sit back and what would we do, you know, to kind of stop Liverpool from playing. And Eddie Howe's response in the press conference today was, "No, we're going for this." Like, I don't see Newcastle sitting back deep and sitting back and defending and trying to stop Liverpool playing. I see Newcastle going for the throat. And yeah, there'll be times in the game where we'll be sitting back because Liverpool will come into it. Not saying that it's going to be all Newcastle, far from it. Liverpool have got quality players and are a top side that are just not having the best of seasons this season. But we will go for it because, you know, as Grizz quite rightly said, no, sorry, it was yourself, Cav, you said it, is that you've got a game in hand. If you win, you're 3 points behind and it all looks very, very different. But if we win, it puts massive pressure back on you. And if I'm right in thinking, the last time that you know, a lot of the talk that Liverpool were back is when I remember it. We played at Old Trafford and we got a 0-0 draw, and you guys beat Man City at Anfield.
Yeah.
And there was all the talk of Liverpool at back, and then the next week you went to Forest and lost, and it was a really poor performance. I remember watching it myself, and that we want that to be the same again for Newcastle. We want Newcastle to go there and win, so it puts you back in that position where Liverpool are going, okay, are we back or are we not? Like, we want you back in limbo again, because, you know, we see you and you know, and Chelsea as well as the ones that could potentially take that spot. Tottenham were up and down. 1 minute they're good, 1 minute they're crap. You don't really know, but we don't want you guys to get a run. So I think Eddie Howe's gonna send the team out and go, right, we're gonna go for this. I think all the top boys are gonna play.
I was going to say, Pete, let's try to get into the team lineups, predicted team lineups for yourself. So give us some insight in what you think, not what you want, but what you think Eddie Howe is going to go with your starting lineup. And then me and Cav will get that sent to Jurgen Klopp and the boys and see what we can. But KD says, I love a civilized chat between fans from rival teams. Thank you very much for that. If you have enjoyed the stream, smash the like button, subscribe to the people's channels if you haven't, subscribe to mine if you haven't as well. We're so close to 25k. I'm absolutely humbled and blown away with the support. Only been going over a year, so really appreciate if I can get to 25k real soon. But Pete, hit us with what you think the lineup is going to be, bearing in mind the cup final, slight injuries, any risks taken. Talk to us.
I don't think there'll be any risks from us. I think we'll play our strongest team. So it'll be Pope in goal, Burn left back. That back four has been like
Picks itself.
Season, yeah. Burn left back, Botman, Shaw, Trippier will be back four. And then in midfield, obviously because of a few injuries, I think we're probably going to change formation, in my opinion. So normally we have the three in midfield and then the three up top. But I think we're going to have a midfield two of Joe Linton and Sean Longstaff. And then we're going to have either Gordon or Maxi playing in the number 10. So I'll, for argument's sake, I'll say Gordon in the number 10, Maxi on the left, Miggy on the right, Isaac up top. So yeah,
got to bang on. Literally, this predictor has got the same lineup.
What that team says, that's what I believe it will be. And it was at times in the game against Bournemouth, that's kind of how we set up. Because Gordon's not a centre midfielder, neither is Maxi or Miggy. And we are lacking centre midfielders at the moment. This is Bruno's last game before he's back for the final. When he's back, that will change things. We'll go back to that midfield three. It wouldn't surprise me, actually, if you switch it over, if you're able to. It wouldn't surprise me to see Maxi in that number 10 at some point, where he gets to run centrally and he can drift left or right. And cause problems from that middle part of the pitch. And Gordon running at Trent from a defensive point of view, using his pace. I remember watching the game at Anfield last season when he was at Everton, and he caused a lot of problems down Everton's left, Liverpool's right. And he'll be bang up for that as well. We haven't talked about that. Gordon being an Everton player,
I'm dreading that because again there was a bit of criticism, and for the fee and the player, I rate him, and I've been open and said I think it's a very shrewd buy from Eddie Howe. I think the guy will only get better. He's got the raw attributes that not every player has, which is searing pace. And then if you can utilize that, like he seems to have improved St. Maximum, and the most improved player probably in the Premier League, in Almiron on the other side, you can see this has been a very, very shrewd signing. Look at that team, Cav. And what do we do to counter that? What do you think our lineup's going to be tomorrow? Because we've got Real Madrid, our foes and enemies and Champions League rivals of recent history past, on Tuesday, not even on Wednesday, on Tuesday. So we've got Tuesday night. So we've got Saturday night, Newcastle away, quick turnover, Madrid. What are you doing?
Well, the good thing is, as I mentioned earlier, we have some important first teamers coming back into selection. So I think Virgil's back now, and I think Klopp said earlier in his press conference he expects him to start the Newcastle game, which is good. We've got Jota and Firmino back as well. Unsure on Carvalho, but with the other two coming back, he maybe wouldn't make that sort of bench anyway. Ramsey's unfortunately out. Doak is back sort of training, but remains to be seen if he'll make the bench. Yeah. So we have options, but I do think that this game will probably come a bit too soon to start the likes of Firmino and Jota. I think you'll just give them a bit more time, bring them on towards the end of the game. We spoke about how important the end of the game could be, and it'll be a brilliant thing to allow us to bring on someone like Firmino and Jota. Both have different attributes, but depending on which way the game's going, you bring on either one respectively. Jota, perhaps if you're trying to get a goal. Firmino, if you want to be a bit more conservative, say. But I think we go pretty similar. I think we do take it one game at a time. I know it's cliche. I know it's Real Madrid and it's a huge tie. But we can't afford to take the eye off this game. We simply can't. The attitude has been questionable at times this season by some, fans towards the players and Klopp and things like this, and we can't afford to be distracted in any way. It's got to be full focus to try and build this momentum again. I think the performance against Everton was really good. I think you said it, Bilal. It looked similar to what we are used to seeing from a Liverpool side. Had aggression in the midfield, was competing, attitude was right, and then we were able to create chances with the guys that we had up top. Fullbacks were involved in the game again, which was really good to see. I don't think we're in a position really to start changing things now. We've really just got to build on what we've got. So I think most of the lineup will pick itself. The only questionable position for me would be if Henderson and Fabinho can go again, or whether you have to rotate one of them out or both out to make sure they stay fresh, because Fabinho we've spoke to death about, right? But Henderson in particular, his whole game is built on being intense and running. And we know now that he can't do that game after game. So you just have to be a bit selective with him. I think the other boys picked themselves. The midfielder, Bajcetic, our current holder of Player of the Month, been absolutely fantastic. And I'm sure he's probably one of the first names on the team sheet. Forward line, I think they look good at the weekend. Gakpo, Nunes rotating between the centre forward and left position was really nice to see. Salah benefited from everybody else playing well and managed to get into goal scoring opportunities. Obviously got his goal. And Virgil coming back. You know, I know he's not been great this season, but I'd take it. Out? For me, I'd leave out Matip, to be honest. And this is a difficult one. Newcastle have height. And they have delivery in Trippier, right? So we need to be very careful from set pieces. So for that reason, you'd probably start Matip because he's a tall fella and he's relatively good in the air. But I do think that both him and Gomez have done okay, but they have mental lapses in them. They have a mistake in them. And I just think for the remainder of the season, until Konate comes back, we need consistency. And I would rather give the opportunity to the younger, fitter, sort of fresher guy, so to speak, in Gomez. And I think alongside Virgil can kind of help him manage him through. So I would remember Gomez, but
do you remember last season where we went Gomez right back and we played Matip and things? So is there a chance we could do that? Because he's going to be up against either Gordon, like Pete said, either Gordon or St. Maxim. Pace. Now, I wish we had Konate because he gives the height and the pace, but he's near enough. You know, fucking what a player. I miss him so much. Love you, Ibu. Come back soon. But Matip, I agree with you. Like Gordon versus Matip, or St. Maxim versus Matip, I'm not looking forward to. Gomez has got that pace that can keep up with them. It's a tough one, but then Gomez hasn't got the height, because then you're looking at Trippier, probably one of the best deliverers of a set piece again in the Premier League as well. I know, because he's my FPL king this season. It's a tricky one. I'm with you. I think Gomez and Virgil start at centre back, and I think the other decision is in midfield. I think, though, I've got a suspicion Naby Keita's going to come in. Naby Keita, Pete won't want to remember, but Naby Keita pretty much ran the show last season at St. James Park. Scored that goal as well and had a very good game.
I remember.
I've got a sneaky feeling Naby Keita is going to come in. I think he's going to rest Henderson for Madrid. Just a feeling.
I agree. And I keep going back to this point, but I really do think the end of this game is going to be key. And if you can bring on Henderson for the final 30 just to provide that energy and that intensity, plus it's just 30 minutes for him, so we're not, using up all of his legs. I think that would probably be the way to go. My concern with Keita is at times he doesn't track his man backwards. Third man runs off the back of him. And if you're playing St. Max, Gordon and Almiron behind Isaac, they're going to be running and trying to get into the box whenever the ball's on the opposite channel and things like this. So I just don't want him to be bypassed, because that could be really problematic. Just quickly on your point with regards to the right back position for Gomez, Grizz, I think Trent's crucial in this game, not only defensively to try and stop the likes of St. Max and Gordon, but offensively. St. James's Park is a big pitch, and Trent is going to be so key, because if he's got his passing range on tomorrow, this kid can, not kid anymore, 24, but he's the sort of guy that can exploit that space, and he's going to have runners ahead of him, hopefully now, in Nunes, Salah and Gakpo. So I think his offensive game is going to be really key for us tomorrow as well.
Let's get a prediction then, lads, to finish off with this one. Obviously, let's start with the neutrals first. Billy, what's your prediction on this one then, after Pete's done the pumping up for Newcastle, and then Cav, I think, came back quite strong for the Liverpool side?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching this one. Like we've said about both of these games, they're fantastic games for the neutral. So I'm really looking forward to it. As for score predictions,
it's a tough one.
It's a really tough one to call. I'm gonna go for little bit of a goal fest, 2-2. Now, I know Newcastle's defence has been solid. It's been fantastic. But past couple of games, you've not kept as many clean sheets as you'd probably have liked to. And I think with Jota being available, whether he starts or not is a different story. I think that's a bit of a boost. Firmino as well. You won that game against Everton. Things are looking good for you. And yeah, I think you can get something out of it. I don't think that you can get the win because of Pete's argument. The fans are going to be up for it. The players are going to be up for it. So yeah, I think a 2-2 is going to be an entertaining 2-2, a very entertaining 2-2. That's what I'm going to go for.
Bilal, how are you seeing this?
Had a bit of 2-2 in my head as well, but to be honest, right? Yeah, but I'm leaning towards Newcastle, and now it's because of Cav. I'm blaming Cav because I didn't realize you guys were thinking about Real Madrid this much. I thought you guys should just run with that Bajic and Fabinho, Henderson midfield, but you don't trust it. You don't trust it to obviously last this game and the next, right? So you can't just keep churning them out. Obviously, Thiago's injured, so that's a bit of an issue there. The front three of Liverpool is looking better. Salah, Nunes is actually just a problem, right? It doesn't matter what he does. He is what you call a problem. Gakpo as well, in and out of the game the other day, but still flashes that, yeah, you can get something out of him. But yeah, for me, I don't know. I'll go 2-1 Newcastle. I think Newcastle will be up for it. They'll be at home. And for Eddie Howe, if I'm Eddie Howe, I'm looking at this game like if Newcastle win, that's probably top 4 secured, right? Because I don't really see Tottenham really. You don't really see them putting a run together. But you can see Liverpool, if they win this game, the momentum they could actually get and go on and maybe try and catch Newcastle. So it's a big game. So I think, yeah, Newcastle 2-1. I think they're going to go all out. And Isaac Wilson off the bench, if he even comes on, there's a lot of weapons there. So, yeah, I'll go with Newcastle.
Let's go for it then. Pete, how do you see this one going? I think everyone's adamant that it's going to be tight and close. But you your facial expression suggested that you don't think there's going to be that many goals when Billy said 2-2. Do you think it's going to be a tighter affair?
Yeah. You know what? I think either of our right-hand sides, and Cabs alluded to it, I think either of our right-hand sides is going to be the difference. Nunes up against Trippier and either Gordon or Maxi up against Trent will be the difference, just purely because the right-hand sides of both teams like to get forward. And they are the difference. Trippier's chance created is the best in the Premier League. Insane. It's crazy. Like he's so crucial to the way we play. He makes Miggy play better. He creates chances for the forwards. He links everything. But he's going to have to worry about Nunes coming off that left. If he can silence him, that will be key. And if Maxi can get the better of Trent on the other side, that could be the difference. But it can go the other way. If Nunes gets the better of him, if Trent gets the better of Maxi or Gordon on that left-hand side, I do think it might actually be Gordon, to be fair, to counteract Trent on that left-hand side. It could make the difference in the game. But I think it's going to be tight. I've always had in my mind 2-1 to Newcastle, so I'm going to stick with that.
Stick to it, mate.
I've got to back the boys before we go to Wembley for the cup final. So I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a tight game. They always are with Liverpool, and I just think the crowd and the buzz of everything will get
you through. Yeah. Cav, it sounds like the reverse. Well, not the reverse, sorry, but sort of our version of a Champions League night at Anfield under the lights. Like it has all the feelings and the makings of it, doesn't it? So what are you saying?
There's a lot of 2-1s from the guys tonight, and I'm going to match that, but I'm going to back my team. I think we win 2-1. And I'll go one step further. I think Trent's going to score. I just got this feeling. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I think he's going to score. And do you know what Newcastle do as well? They send our away fans right up into the gods. So you can just about
get up there. Level 7.
I tell you what, yeah. When we win, right, and you see the players go over and clap and their heads are like looking at the sky, it's like no better feeling. You know, the appreciation for the support when they have to make their way all the way up there is, it's going to be great.
Darwin and son of Grizz Teta. I always find this fella strange, weird, but I always appreciate the support nevertheless. Grizz Khan, will you still finish above Asana? No, I think it's a bit difficult now, my friend. It's a bit difficult. I think it's going to be a humdinger of a game, guys. I genuinely think both teams need a win. I don't think it's going to be tactical. I don't think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be ferocious. I think both teams are going to try to attack every time they get the ball. Obviously, they have a far more stable defense than us. And if we choose to play on the counter-attack, then that may be our best way of hurting them, especially if we play on the emotion of the crowd and the emotion of the occasion. And the fact that Newcastle have drawn quite a few games recently. Is it your last two at Newcastle you've drawn, Pete? I can't remember now, but there is quite a few draws that you've had in there. But
no, we've obviously we drew with Bournemouth, and then West Ham at home. So the last two games we've drew.
Yeah,
but it's 5 out of the last 6 that we've drawn. We drew at Palace. We drew at home on New Year's Eve to Leeds as well, and obviously Arsenal at the Emirates too. So we've had a few draws. Some games difficult, but some games we probably would have expected to win. We would have expected to have beat Leeds on New Year's Eve. We would have expected to beat West Ham at home. We were expecting to beat Bournemouth, and we had enough chances to beat Palace. So we could have been sitting here with
in a far better position than you already are.
Yeah, we could have been very, very comfortable right now against teams that we probably would have expected to beat with the season that we've had. But look, it is what it is. If this is our blip, I'll take it.
Take it, yeah.
Newcastle draw a lot, though. I think 11 draws this season. Even at the beginning of the season, one of my mates, a Newcastle fan, he's like, just keep drawing. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. You guys are not, because I'm watching the games, you're playing well, but somehow it's like a draw. And it's like, yeah, it's one of those weird ones.
Yeah, we beat Forest first game, and then we had a run of loads of draws off the back of that. And then we went into our winning phase, and it's almost like we've gone into that phase again. So I'm hoping we get out of that after tomorrow, and we go on another run of wins. Because I think if we can do that again, we get top 4.
I'm going to sound like a contradicting twat, because I've just said it's going to be a humdinger of a game and it's going to be end-to-end stuff. But my prediction is going to be 1-0 Liverpool. I think despite the chances both teams will have, I think I'm on a bit of a correct scoring run here. So people may wish to sort of be boosted by that, or they may think, he's cursed it again. But either way, I think it's going to be entertaining. It's crucial. I'm unlike you, Cav. I think avoiding defeat wouldn't kill off our chances, because that still makes it 9 points with 2 games in hand. Sorry.
Yeah, I hear that.
Sorry. I beg your pardon. 9 points with a game in hand, which will bring it down to 6 points. And if we've chased the likes of City with 14-point deficit, with all due respect to Newcastle, I'd still think we can put a charge up second half of the season with all our players back. But tomorrow's going to be massive. First and foremost, Aston Villa and Arsenal is going to be, I think, quite a tight affair. That's going to be a nervous affair. Guys, thank you very much for your time. Pete and Billy especially, those two lads, I see you every day kind of thing, Sodom. But you two, thank you very much for coming on. Hopefully we can do this again sometime. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me.
Wicked. And Pete as well. Nice one.
Great to be on.
Excellent. Billy, Bilal, tomorrow we're going to do the call-in show, see what kind of mood you're in straight after kickoff. Cav, probably see you on the RedFellas on Sunday. We may have something positive to talk about. Look forward to Madrid with apprehension or buoyancy. It really is dependent on the result. But guys, thank you very much again for your time. People, if you haven't liked the stream, like on your way out. Subscribe to Total Screamers and Loaded Mag NUFC. The links are in the description. And over and out. Take care.